In Hiding by Carlos Perez. Interior Henry's study, Eve. Henry Jekyll is in his study playing chess with his friend, Dr. Lanyon.
That occurred long ago, Henry, and during the moments of weakness it was a folly of youth and nothing more.
That may be true. I was young, and you were only about 5 years older than I.
That's my point. It was totally innocent. Boys at play, as it were.
Like what happened when my father was forced to call you?
I've tried to drive that from my mind. When he called upon me, I did the best I could to help you.
I know. You helped me in more ways than you know. However, I feel it's time to tell you the whole story. My father swore me to secrecy, you see, or shall I say, terrified me into it.
Fade to black. Flashback. Title, 15 years earlier. Fade to interior dressing room, Eve. A young Danvers Carew and Henry Jekyll are sitting in the makeup room of a theater. Danvers gets up and leaves for a moment while Henry looks at himself in the mirror. He starts to remove his makeup, but stops himself. He looks like a woman in the makeup, and even without it, he would have had a very feminine appearance. Danvers returns and closes the door to the dressing room and sits down beside Henry.
It's okay, Henry. They're gone.
Henry looks at Danvers, who glances over at the wig on the counter in front of Henry. Henry puts on the wig, and Danvers kisses him.
It was so nice of our esteemed director to cast you in the role of Rosalind.
Well, Danvers, it wasn't exactly his original plan, now was it? The cast change wouldn't have happened if Emily's father hadn't found out she was performing in the play without his permission.
Yes, funny how that worked out. I wonder who told him.
Danvers smiles a knowing smile, and Henry looks at himself in the mirror.
I don't know why it is, but I like myself this way.
So do I.
Danvers kisses Henry again.
Does that make me bad?
No. At least I don't think so.
It must be nice.
What?
Knowing what you are, knowing where you belong.
I think none of us really know where we belong. We've been told from birth by others what we are and where we belong. How would they know that? How could they possibly know that?
I envy them. It must be gratifying to have everything so clear, so delineated. To use a book to make all your choices for you. The Bible has all the answers, and all you need to do is what it tells you.
But it isn't clear. Part of it says an eye for an eye, and another part says to turn the other cheek. So which are you to do? Seek revenge or forgiveness? That's why I don't give it much credence. If there is a God who created us, then surely this is how he wants us to be, and no book or interpretation of a book should dictate that.
Danvers kisses Henry again, and this time they fall into an embrace. While in the embrace, they don't notice the door slowly opening behind them. Henry's father, Mr. Jekyll, appears at the door and watches the two of them. He slowly enters the room, followed by a huge man dressed in black.
Well, isn't this sweet?
Danvers and Henry turn to see Henry's father, and they quickly pull away from each other. Danvers gives Henry a quick knowing glance at the wig, and Henry, realizing he has it on, quickly removes it.
So, Henry, this is the little secret you and your mother have been hiding from me. Does she know how far your little secret goes?
Henry doesn't answer or make eye contact with his father.
Mr. Jekyll.
Quiet, Danvers! Before I contact your father and bring him here just to see what sort of man his son has become, what do you think he'd make of this? Send you straight to Haymarket, I imagine? They would have quite the use of your kind there.
Sir,
Get out! And don't ever speak to my son again. If your father went with the House of Lords, I'd tell the world about you. But he doesn't need a scandal, and neither do I. So we'll just have to keep this foul business to ourselves. Now leave.
Danvers looks at Henry, who returns his gaze. It's clear he wants him to stay.
Please don't leave me.
Danvers looks at Henry, then at Henry's father, and quickly averts his gaze from Henry and leaves, closing the door behind him, leaving Henry alone with his father and the strange man accompanying him. Henry's father walks up to his son, who averts his eyes in order to not make eye contact with him.
So what do I do with you?
Henry's father picks up the wig and throws it to Henry.
Put it on.
What?
I said put it on!
Henry hesitantly puts the wig back on.
Now stand up, turn around, bend over the table.
Henry doesn't move. His father strikes him hard, knocking him to the ground. The wig flies off of him.
Put the wig back on and assume the position, or I'll beat you so severely your mother won't even recognize you. You forget who's in charge of this family, boy. I humor your mother by letting her think she has some modicum of control, but let me assure you she does not. She made me mollycoddle, and now it's my job to turn you into a man.
Henry puts the wig back on. His makeup is now smeared from having been struck in the face. He stands in front of the table and turns his back to his father and bends over onto the table as instructed.
This is what happens to he-she boys.
His father signals the man who is with him. The man suddenly rushes toward a terrified Henry.
No!
Blackout and flashback.